Here's Eric. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm calling because a couple weeks ago you referred to Kelly Clarkson as an unattractive, ugly white girl. Well, I don't think so.
Shuli has agreed to start a series, and we'll see how long we can take it, on Eric Shawn Lynch. Yeah. There are literally over 100,000 people that listen to Eric the actor at night to go to sleep. It's a weird phenomenon, and I don't even think Howard's aware of it. There are celebrities in the group. There's just regular fans in the group, and there's no more content. We have an opportunity here to speak with Shuli, who's have been with Eric behind the scenes, and we're going to go through in detail Eric's life and his life on the show. He started obviously as a caller, and then somehow calling the Howard Stern year after year worked his way into some form of a business. Sound familiar?
I mean, he was the Jackie Robinson, the Rosa Parks for me.
Did you ever deal with Eric before you actually started working for the Stern Show?
No, we never communicated before. We weren't friendly. Well, I don't think we had any interaction before that at all.
Born on March 11th, 1975, all our fans know it as R311, Eric was quickly diagnosed with something called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. It's not a disease, it's a syndrome. The difference being that there's just a lot of symptoms combined, but it's not an actual disease or virus that's in the body.
And so few people have it, they didn't even bother coming up with a better name for it.
Part of what our mission here is to get the name changed to Eric the Actor Syndrome, or just simply ETAS, Eric the Actor Syndrome, and that's not a joke. We're going to push the society, which is located about a block away from your old office at Sirius in New York City, to change the name. I agree. So I looked up the names. Dr. Ehlers in 1901 and then Dr. Danlos in 1908 somehow compiled this list of traits that people were having. And Eric was one of them. But there are 13 different subsets. So Doug Goodstein has Ehlers-Danlos as well. The main issue is people...
That explains a lot, by the way. That explains a lot. Go ahead.
There is a few ways to get it. Generally, it's genetic, and there is an Ashkenazi issue. I know that people may not be familiar with that term, and for whatever reason, my wife is Jewish. We had to look up these potential Jew diseases that our kids could have, and Ashkenazi, am I pronouncing that right?
Well, first of all, there's a ish at the end of Jew diseases, and then, no, you're not pronouncing it correctly, and people may not be familiar with it just based on the way you pronounce it. Ashkenazi, not Ashkenazi. You're not yelling at someone in traffic.
What does that mean?
It's two different types of Jews. There's Sephardic and Ashkenazi, and the Sephardic, I believe, are the more desert, dark-skinned, olive-skinned Jews, and then the Ashkenazi are European Jews.
Yeah, because Doug actually looked almost black, and I don't know if his traits are for his Ehlers-Danlos disease are from his Ashkenazi, but Howard always commented on how Doug didn't look Jewish at all, especially when he first came into the office.
Well, he's definitely, when you say he almost looked black, it explains he's a great dancer. So now I get it.
There are 13 different subsets of Ehlers-Danlos, and as you mentioned earlier, Eric had one that was so rare that it's really new as to what he had. He may be, and I'll get the exact fact, but one of 8 at the time that actually had it. The analogy that the doctors use is that when you build a house, if the wood studs are unstable, the house will look okay, but eventually it's going to twist and turn and potentially fall. So
and only want big, huge tits and be an asshole to people. That's the other thing your house can eventually do.
As long as they're natural. So about me, I know so much about Eric Lynch, and I know that there are fans out there that kind of do the same. just listening to him day after day after day. Where have you ever even listened to your old shows at all?
I have that comic syndrome where I hate the sound of my voice. And so even going back and listening to comedy sets is tough for me when I did my album, having to sit there and edit that stuff. Although I will say there are some news stories that, were my go-to on my computer that I would go back and listen to. But it was more for the whack-packed, responses in those stories than anything to do with me. These people were the gold. I was just making sure that the person driving that plumbing truck on a Monday morning had something that made them laugh on their way to, snaking a toilet.
Yeah. Attributes for the most rarest Ehlers-Danlos syndrome are a flattened nose and protruding eyes and eye socket. And Eric had both of those if you look back. So then also the joints, basically you're double jointed. One of the segments you see, but leading up to the club fucking foot, is Eric's foot just bent completely the other way because the joints with people who suffer from Ehlers-Danlos are completely flexible.
I mean, I have a picture of me and him on the set of one of the shows he was doing. It may have been the one in New Mexico, in plain sight, and he's in he's in his trailer in his chair, and I'm standing behind him, and I'm throwing up the metal horns, and it looks like a guy was just run over by a train. Like his legs, he was sitting Indian style, but one toe's going this way, the other toe's going that way, and it's wild.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that. Obviously, Eric was on 4 major shoots throughout his career as an actor, and you're referring to In Plain Sight, I presume?
Yes.
Right, so in New Mexico, Eric shot In Plain Sight. There's a whole lot of negotiation leading up to that deal, but on September 19th, 2002, the world was introduced to Eric the actor, and I have to give it to your former boss. He picked up on Eric, not just a call, but what he had in terms of an ailment and who he was as a person, and he was spot on. So let's listen to that first call. We're going back to September 19th, 2002. Where were you at that time?
September 19th, 2002, I probably was either working as a blackjack dealer at the Barbary Coast, or I was working at the souvenir/liquor store in Fremont Street in downtown Vegas. But I was in Vegas for sure.
How much do blackjack dealers at those type of casinos make?
Well, you have to go to blackjack dealing school. You have to learn all the lingo and everything, and the patterns, the math, whatever. Then that school is owned by a casino. So then you go and you audition, and basically if you have a pulse and you can count to 17 and stop, or 22 and stop, you'll get hired. With those casinos, they call them breaking houses. You make the least amount of money you're going to make dealing in Vegas in those breaking house casinos. The good paying casinos, for example, Super Bowl weekend, right? It's busiest weekend, one of the busiest weekends in Vegas. As dealers, you pool your tips. Everybody, all the blackjack tables throw in, all the craps, boom, boom, boom. So our dealers, on Super Bowl Sunday, we made $155 each dealer in tips after everything was divvied out. Across the way at the Rio, they made $655 a dealer. So you kind of have to eat the shit sandwich at these breaking houses and learn how to deal other games while you're there. You kind of got to let it pay for itself by educating yourself on, instead of going down and napping on your break, you go to the roulette table and you learn how to deal roulette, or you go and watch Pai Gow, or whatever it is. And then that way it could be one more game that might help you get in at the Rio or Caesars. But people don't leave those jobs. They make killer money.
Yeah. What was the name of your casino?
The Barbary Coast. It's between Bally's and Caesars, and it's one of those casinos where you're like, how is this still up?
Yeah, but don't those little casinos have a pretty decent following with the locals?
They do, because they had a nightclub there that took off. I think it's called Dre's, and that nightclub really took off. And so that's really all it takes is one attraction at these hotels to bring. They just want bodies in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the After Hours Club? Dre's or Dre's?
Yeah, Dre's.
Yeah.
That was the After Hours Club. That was the casino I used to work at. They fired me when I failed the drug test.
What did you take?
What, for the drug test?
Yeah.
Oh, I had to roll a joint in the dark, and I couldn't do it, so they fired me.
Sucks. It's a complicated test.
It is.
Well, here's Eric. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm calling because a couple weeks ago you referred to Kelly Clarkson as an unattractive, ugly white girl. Well, I don't think so. She is anything but ugly and unattractive.
Are
Eric?
you related to her?
No, I'm not.
Eric, how old are you?
27.
What's wrong with you? There's something wrong, right?
Well, I'm a disabled person.
Yeah, okay.
You're a guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm only 3'5", 3'6".
Immediately, Howard picks up that there's something wrong with him, and Eric actually makes his first misrepresentation. He's claiming to be 3'5", 3'6". Technically, he was only 3 foot. That's in the records, but he keeps trying to add a few inches. But you can't really blame the guy for doing so.
That's like when chicks called in and they would, they'd say, well, how much do you weigh? And I go, 105. And they're taking numbers off. Well, when you're a little person, you're padding the numbers.
Yeah, and part of Eric's appeal has to be the fact that he had so many physical ailments and so many things going against him, yet he was able to do so much with his life. And most people, including ourselves, will look at the flaws that we have as major, and then sometimes be held back just for that. Now this guy is less than 3'5" and obviously has all these other physical impairments, and everything he was able to do, and then eventually boss around your old boss throughout the process is something that's appealing to most of the fans in his little fan club.
True, but he was also one of those guys, like, I haven't met too many handicapped people that at some point will make you root against them. You know what I mean? With his attitude, like he could tweak you, man, to the point where you'll be driving home and you're like, good, I'm glad they don't have a ramp at this mall. Fuck
Yeah,
'em.
like the weird thing is I don't even remember ever listening to Eric live. I just know from all the old, just going back and listening to the old shows, but I never fall for the thing of getting mad at Eric. And the same thing with High Pitch. No matter what he does to me, I don't have any animosity towards him, and I don't want to harm him. But I think Gary a lot of times would fall for that same thing, where Gary would legitimately get pissed at him. And I know it's annoying to deal with some of them in the Whack Pack, but I mean that's a whole other issue whether he even deserves to be in the Whack Pack, because obviously he didn't believe he was.
I mean, that's why you make him the head of the Whack Pack.
Exactly. Let's go back to that first call again. It's September 19th, 2002. The first call.
We got to get you down here. You're in love with Kelly Clarkson of American Idol?
Yep.
Maybe we can hook you two kids up.
If I can get her to come in here, maybe I can hook you up with her.
Wouldn't mind that, that's for sure.
What? 3'5"? What are you, a midget?
Yeah.
And what, are you ill or something?
No, it's just, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here.
Are you shorter than Mini-Me?
No, I think he's around the 2 foot mark.
Wow.
Right.
I'm always amazed at how little Mini-Me is.
Yeah.
If Mini-Me's 2 foot, you're 3'5"?
3'5".
You tower over him.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between that.
You work in a circus or on a show or something?
No, I'd like to get into show business, into acting, and into singing and stuff like that.
What do you do right now?
Actually, nothing. I'm living off SSI.
The payments that he was getting from SSI, obviously he needed and qualified for. There came a time in history where Eric was making money, and one fan turned him into the administration in California. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
so
I remember. He was not happy about that.
right, and
And I don't blame him. That's a dick move. Like,
it is.
the guy's never done anything to you, but that is the mark of somebody who's got the it factor. He got a reaction out of people. He made people who have never met him, they're never going to meet him, and they go out of their way. You think this was a quick call to make? You think this is a one-call report thing? No, I'm sure the person had to sit on hold. I'm sure there were multiple calls that had to be made. There were probably some evidence that needed to be sent in. Like, this was, you really, you made this like your job to hurt this guy, which I never understood that.
Okay, so they send Agent Shuli out, who's working for SSI. When you meet Eric, is there any way in hell you could go back and say, "Hey, this guy's making too much money. Maybe we should cut him. Give me a break."
No, they're just heartless fuckers, man. It's like, you look at this guy; he's in the shape of a fucking. He looks like the people melting in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you're gonna walk away and go, "We're gonna fix this fucker. You watch." No good news in his life ever.
I mean, on one level, I get the joke. I'm not into really messing with people on that level.
The joke is fine. Then you grab him, you give him a noogie, you go, "We're kidding. We're not touching your shit. Get out of here."
Yeah, exactly. And there's no way any agent in hell would ever have to take away Eric's SSI money. I think he once said it was around $700 or $800 a month, and. Yeah.
There's nothing about him. There's nothing about him that an agent can go, "I think he's faking it. I think he." I'm telling you, we walk out of this house. Let's just wait 5 minutes and then just run back in. I bet you he's gonna be break dancing, back spinning.
Totally. Yeah, they're gonna trail him for a few days, see if he's using a fake wheelchair and things like that. Yeah, you're right.
You think he's legit? Yeah, look at him. He's in the shape of a question mark. Like, of course he's legit. You can't say 3 words without running out of air. Like, let's give him more money. How about that?
Well, the interesting thing was Kelly Clarkson at this time.
We're upping it to 1,800.
Kelly Clarkson at this time is not that popular. She's coming off of the show, but before that, now she's a household name. Not everyone watched that show, but Eric seemed to fall in love pretty quickly with people on TV. I don't think most people realize that Eric was, before this, he was accused of harassing another person that appeared on a reality TV show. Are you aware of anything relating to this?
Which person was this?
I don't recall the person's name, but the show was 3 Wishes with Amy Grant. I've never watched the show, but if you go on YouTube, it's weird. Eric mentions this. Sal once picked up on this. So basically, it wasn't Amy Grant that he was harassing. It was the person that they were showing on the show. Eric gets the person's telephone number. And at the time, reality TV wasn't that big, so they would basically show people's addresses, and Eric looked it up, got the mom's number. This may sound familiar. Kept calling the mom of the girl that was on the show. And I believe the girl had a disability, and they were giving her 3 wishes. And then the cops...
By the way, none of those wishes was to be harassed by another disabled person.
Exactly. So the cops contact Eric, and he kind of plays it off as if it was just like a general harassment. Just basically stop harassing the girl, stop calling the girl. Obviously, I don't think Eric could really physically get out there and stalk anybody.
No, there's got to be ramps involved. If you're on a second floor apartment, he's not stalking you. It's not happening. So, again, it's another one where all you got to do is look at the guy and be like, "No, I think somebody exaggerated a little bit. I think somebody may have made something up a tad, but I don't see him stalking anyone." Yeah,
and that's the thing. When people would ask me, "What are you doing? Eric's harassing your family. He's threatened to kill you. He threatened to kill your wife." And Robin, I think, once said best, like, just look at the guy. He there's no way he can ever physically harm anybody.
I always used to tell people, Eric, and they go, "Eric threatens women, kids, adults, he's a piece of shit." There you go. And then one day he's going to hurt somebody. I go, "No, he's not," because it requires movement. It requires commitment to drive to Vinny's house and to, now he's got to buy a gun. He's got to wait and fill out the thing, or he's got to get a knife, and he's not going to sharpen it. It's just one thing after. He's going to ask 17 people for help to kill somebody, and then he's going to be arrested and go to jail before he ever does anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you gave any reaction to Eric, because everything's going to come verbally, if you reacted to it, that's what he wants. And so many people do. I mean, when you threaten to rape, let's say your 7-year-old kid, people would generally react negatively to that. I wouldn't.
Sure.
I would just completely ignore it, and that's it. And that's how I got to stay with him for a little bit longer than most people. So back to the call, we have Eric at 27 years old. He's coming across. He's not the mean Eric that most people know. Obviously, you don't see that in this first call, but he is calling because he doesn't like the way Howard was talking about Kelly Clarkson. This is right after she won the first season of American Idol.
And you think she's hot because how picky can you be? You're sitting in the room. When's the last time you got laid?
Never.
Exactly.
How old did he say he was?
20. How old are you?
27.
Wow.
This guy's never gotten laid. That's why you're pining away for her.
Did you go out and buy her a single?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
All you got to do, my friend, is get a little stank on your hang low.
You'll forget all about her.
Yeah, you'll forget all about Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. You got pictures of her hanging on your wall?
No, but on my computer I have some photos.
What do you got?
This one's off various websites that, fans have made for her.
Kelly Clarkson websites?
When you're whacking it, do you think about Kelly Clarkson?
No.
Tell the truth.
No.
Have you
And
ever?
who do you think about?
And don't tell me you're not whacking it.
See, how do I answer that?
Yeah, with the truth. You never think of Kelly Clarkson when you're whacking it.
No.
I don't believe you. See, you're not being straight with me.
Yeah, I am.
Who do you whack it to then? Pam Anderson?
No, just other celebrity females.
Give me your top 3. Whack material.
Oh, let's see. Well, one off Seventh Heaven, Beverly Mitchell.
Beverly Mitchell from Seventh Heaven. That's the top girl to whack it to?
Well, one of them.
No little people?
No.
What about Gary Coleman?
Oh, please.
No, don't go that way.
Hey.
The only known girlfriend that the fans are aware of was Kendra. Were you around for that whole episode?
I mean, yeah, I was definitely around for that.
Yeah, and
That
obviously
madness.
that smells like an old Johnny Fratto bit, and we'll get into what bits were actually real and what were fake. But she does show up to Eric's apartment, and she does fly out to see him, and he does kiss her. That's on YouTube as well. We do know that Eric is a virgin at 27, but he does eventually lose his virginity close to your old hometown. The known sexual partners that I have are Haley, Cherry, Air Force Amy, Tara, and Rogan. I believe all worked at the Bunny Ranch, but who cares? Because of this call, he didn't die a virgin.
That is true. That is true. We got Howard basically, this was the original Undercover Boss, right? This is a show where at the end, making somebody's dream, extreme home makeover, you're getting these dreams coming true at the end. And getting some Bunny Ranch poontang was a dream of his, any poontang. So
throughout the show, there's been proclaimed super fans of Eric, and there's even been trivia. Sal fucked up a trivia game with super fan Javier, who is in Puerto Rico. And one thing you find about a lot of the Eric the actor fans, you're probably not aware, is that they usually listen when they're depressed or feeling down. And there's something about Eric's calls that can either bring you up or help you get to sleep. Not the fact that he's so boring and you fall asleep, but there's something comforting about him and him calling Howard throughout this entire time.
Sure, because you know what he looks like, and you know that you're not built like a battle bot, so it makes you feel better about yourself.
I guess so. And the call then goes into Eric's masturbation habits, and the coolest thing about Eric, it's embarrassing to admit that you masturbate, but Howard eventually gets him to admit it, and then there's something very endearing about Eric finally admitting to it. We learn later on not only the size of Eric's penis, but the method for which he masturbates, which is, it's kind of unique in the sense that, as Fred put it, he's like a little inchworm moving on his bed, basically grinding into his bed, and that was his masturbation technique. And for me, this first call was something that I wasn't aware of. In 2002, I probably wasn't listening to Howard at the time, but to go back and to hear it, and to hear Eric in a different tone of voice, but he's still the same person. I mean, he's going for the top girls. He won't even go for a little person. His goals are a lot higher, and he's aspiring to be an actor. He's saying something he wants to do, and that's a lot of people believe in some form of these vision boards where they put on what they want to do, or they even say it to themselves. I'm going to be a successful person. I'm going to pass this exam. I'm going to win this game. Visualizing. Eric was key to doing that. He's calling up. He's 3'5". He's in a little apartment in. Do you know what town Eric lives in?
Nah, I know it was in Northern California, near, I think, near Sacramento, maybe. I
Yeah,
believe.
so Sacramento's the town that he would tell people, but it's actually called either Rodeo or Rodeo, depends on how you pronounce it. But Rodeo, California is where he was born and where he was living at the time. The call ends with Howard giving Eric $500, sponsored by That 70s Show, which was nice. The next few calls that Eric makes, and we'll get into in a different time, he's going to accumulate about $1,500 in checks. So how does it work when someone wins money from a radio station?
I used to call in with games a lot, so they would throw me prizes from time to time as thanks for staying up on hold all the time and contributing. And I've won money, I've won TVs, I won trips. It's basically you finish the call, you get put on hold, you get there, they get your information, and then it usually takes like about 3 weeks, a month for whatever it is you won to show up. It's not very quick. And so yeah, that's basically how it works.
But it must be
Because
cool.
he would call me sometimes and he'd be like, "Where's the money?" He'd be pissed off that it didn't come quick enough. But that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah, it's got to be cool though. Is it just a little envelope to open up with a check from K-Rock or from the sponsor directly?
I am trying to remember. I believe it was from K-Rock, but don't quote me on that. It was a long time ago. The last thing I won was a trip to the Royal Rumble in Atlanta, WWE, a flight, and I went with a buddy of mine, and we went to the event, and we made signs. I had a giant white poster board, and I just drew a line down the middle of it, and he had another white poster board, and he wrote Gary's teeth with an arrow pointing to my sign.
So how does that work?
To get on TV.
Let's say I win a trip, but I don't know. I want to fly business or first class, but they give you. I'm presuming they don't give you that. Can you upgrade or?
I don't think you can.
Is that too snobby of me?
I mean, I'm sure if you can, it's going on your fucking dime. That's for sure. But I don't think you can upgrade. I think you just have to take what they give you. Which for me at that time, working at a liquor store or pushing wheelchairs, you got it. I'll sit in the overhead. I don't care.
You didn't demand first class.
No.
4 seasons.
Yeah. I don't need leg room. Thank you.
So as we progress through this series, it's fun to hear your angle from it, but also to go back and listen to really Eric before he became what people either love or hate him. But to me, this is the real Eric, the one that's kind of putting on a little bit. Obviously, you're just meeting him for the first time, so he's not going to come out hot like he does a few weeks later. We're leading up to a time where one of my favorite bits is it's coming up soon where Eric attempts to hire Star Jones to sue Howard. And the coolest thing is that it gets intercepted, and that's for another show and another time. But to me, the first time you see Eric get busted, and then he has to apologize, and I guess some guy, Zolar, one of the callers, somehow got the email and then gave it to Howard, obviously, and Eric was so surprised that Howard had the ability to intercept his attempt to hire Star Jones to be his attorney.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember starting up there at Sirius, and Star Jones was up there one day, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a Stutter and John. I'm gonna confront her. I'm gonna get some great audio. I'm gonna piss her off, whatever, you know. I'm a soldier. I'm going to do my job. And I grab my recorder. I see she's in the lobby, right where the elevators are. She's about to leave. I said, perfect. I'm gonna hit her with some shit right before she leaves. Lila, quiet down. And I walk up to her. And the second she turns around, I lose all my confidence. I lose all my bravado. I turn into a spineless jellyfish, and I just go, Miss Jones, did you enjoy your time here at Sirius? She's like, yeah, I had a good time. I'm with Howard 100 News. Any message for Howard? Take care, Howard. Bye. That was it. And I just turned around and I went back, and everybody in the newsroom's like, so what happened? What happened? I go, she didn't want to talk. I go, she told me no comment. I came back with garbage. I was so embarrassed.
You know, I worked for a few weeks with Stuttering Joe, and he confronted you out in California. I remember that. And it put you in a weird situation, because if I'm you at the time, my worry is that Howard's going to either get mad at me or fire me for interacting with him. That would be my worry. I don't know what your mindset was at the time when you saw him, but you know, he was being his obnoxious self, trying to ask you questions at I guess hotel that you guys were out in California. But what was your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, my mindset when it happened was, he's recording it on his end, so no matter what I say or do, he's not gonna play what will go down, because in my mind, like, that was a dick move on his part, and I was ready to throw down with some real nasty verbal shit. That was my first reaction. Is like, okay, no matter what I say, that's not going to air. It'll be his side of the story. He won't even air it. He'll just tell the story, so there's no proof that it went any other way. Then my other thought was, like, I wasn't worried that I was going to get fired, because it's not like I invited him down to do an interview with me. The guy, you know, ambushed me, or as he's like to say, japped me. And so my initial reaction was like, I don't want to give him this. He needs this, right? This is, nobody else is interacting with him, and he's trying to push my buttons to get me to react, and I'm like, it's not going to happen. So it was more about me, not my job. There's nothing that I would have been responsible for, because if they were to call me in and say, why the fuck are you talking to him? I could say, watch the tape. The guy bum rushed me, puts me on camera. I'm entitled to talk shit and defend myself if I want to, you know. But I just thought, for him, he would benefit so much more if I danced with him, if I responded, if I interacted in any way. And I just wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to give him that. So I just kept my mouth shut, walked over to security, asked them to please escort him out, and that was it. And I was very, you know, there was a part of me days after where I was like, fuck, man, I should have let him have it. I should have just said what I had in my head. And it was bad. It was real bad. It would have led to a fight, for sure. Because I'm not playing a tit for tat stupid shit. Like, if you want to throw down, it's going to be over quick. I'm going to get, I know your weak points. I'm going to hit them hard, and you're going to lose your shit. And that's not what I want to do, especially in the lobby of a hotel representing the show and my job. So there was no benefit for me interacting with him. And that's the quick Terminator math, you know, scan I did in my head while it was all going down is what do I gain from this? Nothing. So walk away.
Yeah, I didn't like your reaction, like the way it looks, right? So I didn't like you like not talking, and I didn't like you like going to security and kind of like tattling on him. This is just me being objective as to looking at it, right? And I agree with you. You can't physically fight the guy there. You may want to, and it's stupid. I mean, watching 40-year-old guys fight, white guys fight, is funny, right?
No, and for the
Nothing.
record, I was not looking to physically fight. I haven't had a fight since I was in, a sophomore in high school, and it didn't end well. My point is, if we're gonna start talking shit, then I'm gonna say something that's gonna anger you to the point where you're gonna want to fight me, and I don't want to do that. Because I don't want it to come to that.
Yeah, I know. I don't like the silent treatment look. I mean, the way it came off. Because I mean, I know who you are and I know who John is. I don't think that. I think that both you can get over anything eventually, right? Like whatever the issue was. But it just looks so odd, like you not talking to him at all. I thought for some reason you would fear your job with Howard, because there probably was a better way to diffuse it with some sort of like quick humor or something without looking as if like you're running and telling security.
Yeah, but
to
for
remove.
me, and at that point in time, I'm sitting there, I'm waiting to go out and do something. I don't remember what it was. I think we were recording, or maybe we were just going out to dinner, a big group of us. And here this guy comes running over and gets in my face with a camera and a mic and starts trashing my boss and where I work. And it's like, so how about you come up and go, hey, Shuli, how are you, man? Long time no see. Because up until that point, I had no beef with him. I had no issues with John. I just didn't interact with John. So lay down.
So just so everyone knows, I kind of jumped into that without prefacing it at all. You were out in California. John lives in California. The show was out in California. John said that he was going to ambush the Stern crew with his old school microphone tactics, his interview tactics. And then he eventually gets to the hotel that you're staying at, and he has it on camera. You can probably find it somewhere. John goes up to you, I think with a microphone, and starts to ask you questions. A cut-off shirt with his arms out. He doesn't look the part at this hotel. You're there as well, and then that's where this confrontation occurred.
Yeah, that's where it was, in the lobby. We were getting ready to go do dinner, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I'm getting bum rushed by this guy. And had he approached me in a way where he was like, "Hey, man, good to see you. How are you?" But he was confrontational with me right out the gate, probably because, he probably figured nobody would talk to him, so he's got one shot. Might as well make it count and see what happens. And for me, there was no interest in it for me. What do I have to gain by getting into it with him? Nothing. I only have shit to lose by doing that. My time, my energy, my effort, it turns me into an asshole. Like, I don't need help being negative and being a dick to people. I can do that on my own.
Prior to that, was there any conflict that you two had?
No, none at all. None at all. I helped him years ago in Vegas when he came out and did stand-up with Artie, and he left his video at the hotel, his VHS cassette that he used to play before his stand-up set of all his old interviews. And he left it at the hotel. And I went back to the hotel and dealt with the management and front desk and got it back and mailed it back to him. I was always cool with everybody there. Still am.
Yeah, and I remember listening to his podcast leading up to that, and that was going to be his stand. A lot of people think that they can go back to what they were doing as part of an organization. So John was great doing the interviews, but obviously most of them were written by somebody else, and he's part of a production that's putting it part of the show. So he's kind of like trying to get back into doing that, and he was trying to get back in terrestrial radio as well, which it's not really the way of the future. And this was part of in my opinion, his scheme to sort of get back into it, maybe by getting you and somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, regardless of people writing the questions for him, he still did a great job going out and having the balls to ask those questions, and you can't take that away from him. That being said, nobody wrote impressions for me. Nobody wrote embeddeds for me. Like, this was stuff that I did on my own, that I learned on the job, and it's a different set of skills we have. But we're both a part of history, so that's cool.
I don't know. Those sound like fighting words, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Stand back, dude. I'm about to bum rush you with a cell phone cam.
I appreciate the time you're taking with us to go dive deep into Eric. And yes, our mission is to actually get the name changed. We will be calling that foundation at some point together, and we got to start the ball rolling, because Ehlers-Danlos, as Eric actually tells Howard what it is. Howard had no clue. He couldn't even pronounce it correctly. It's a bad term. Like Lou Gehrig's disease is easy, right? And
I was thinking like Eric the actor syndrome, like the actor thing. I think people will be like, this is a joke. But then what's your alternative? Lynch syndrome in this climate? We're not naming anything Lynch, okay? So
Yeah.
we might have a good shot at Eric the actor.
Yeah,
ETA syndrome.
yeah, ETAS or ETA. And that's the thing, ETA syndrome. And I will never use the M word around anybody. So it would have to be Eric the actor syndrome. And that's just the way I am. Out of respect to Eric, I won't use the M word.
Yeah, rest in peace, you filthy midget. I love you.
One last thing, there's someone who went to Eric's grave, and I dare you to watch it and not cry. That's how good it was. When I saw this guy, I'm like, this guy's creepier than I am. He's going to Eric's grave, and he makes it there. And Shuli, somebody left, I'm getting the chills saying it, but somebody left a can of Pepsi for Eric. And they wrote on it, it's like, I listened to you through very hard times.
Right.
And you got me through them, something to that effect. And
Right.
the fans obviously flocked to that guy. I don't know who the guy was. I don't know how he even knows Eric the actor, but
I could just hear Eric now in heaven going, I want bottled Pepsi. Bottles, not cans.
and it's got to be Pepsi Cola and not Coca Cola. That's his thing, and we'll get into those negotiations. But this was great, man. Great talking with you about Eric, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this for us, the fans. And I know the fans are giving you a hard time about mentioning Howard or talking about Howard, and you claim you weren't going to talk about Howard. I'm the one that's forcing, just for the record, I'm the one that's forcing you to do this. I mean, you can look at Shuli, look at that body language. He doesn't even want to be here. It's Friday night. His kids want to play with the dog in Alabama, and I'm making him do this. So don't blame Shuli. You can blame me for this. And I do appreciate it, though.
You got it, Vin. You got it.